Max and I came into the company in October of 2020. Less than 2 years later, we're on the top of the tag division. We're on the top of the world. That weekend, we had something to prove.
Do you think there's been times when maybe he's pushed the envelope too far with what he said?
We hit on just about everything, which seems to make people upset.
Oh, scissor me, daddy.
Yes.
You saw the title, you saw the thumbnail. Oh man, such a good one today. Before we dive into this, I want to give a massive thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video and just for supporting the channel in general. Therapy is something that more people need to talk about, and I've been thinking about doing it for a long time, and in 2022, I started thanks to BetterHelp, and it's made a massive difference in my mental health. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help with a range of different issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and your preferences in therapy, and that way BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether that's text, chat, phone, or even video call. And you can message your therapist at any time, and you can schedule live sessions when it's most convenient for you. And if for whatever reason your therapist isn't quite the right fit, no problem. You can switch to a different therapist at no charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality that you'd expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who's custom picked for you. You get more scheduling flexibility, and it's all at a more affordable price. Get started today with 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Chris Van Vliet. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Chris Van Vliet. I've also put the links down below in the description and the pinned comment, where you can just use your phone right now, snap that QR code on the screen. BetterHelp.com/Chris Van Vliet. Okay, thank you so much for coming by.
Of course.
Really hoping that you'd bring the championship. I mean, I
it
feel
slipped
like
my mind. It was on the display case. I was shining it up, and then I ran out. I didn't want to get it dirty.
I feel like you must wear it everywhere, right?
Of course. You got to wear it everywhere. Up and down, whatever you call it, Sunset Boulevard.
Sure, Hollywood Boulevard, anywhere, really. What does that championship mean to you?
It means a lot. It means a whole lot. I mean, Max and I came into the company in October of 2020, and less than 2 years later, we're on the top of the tag division. We're on the top of the world. It's a moment that I had been working for obviously I didn't know I was going to win the tag team titles, but winning a championship with a major company, with all the hard work, all the sacrifices that went into, becoming a professional wrestler and getting to this level, to have that moment, it's awesome. It's cool.
You guys are like the epitome of homegrown talent in AEW. And I think really the first ones to have gold in that company, which I think must mean so much more for you.
Yeah, and I hope that we can be at least like an example for other talent that comes in to see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Not that there isn't, but just like, hey, like, how can I get to the top of this company? How can I really achieve something? So I hope the blueprint that we set is a good example for other homegrown talent.
Like, it's from debuting on Dark in front of nobody,
Which was very hard,
to now being AEW Tag Team Champions. It's like that. What an amazing story that is.
Well, thank you. It's crazy. I still haven't really processed it, and I don't think I ever will until everything's over with, because it's usually what's the next thing? What can we do that's entertaining next? So it's hard to really sit back and soak it all in, but I'm trying to enjoy it as much as possible.
Have you gone back and rewatched your debut at any point?
I can't. I'm dead serious. I cannot watch it because it was very awkward, and basically that was the same day that we had a meeting with Tony. That was the first time we ever met Tony face to face. And that's when he told us that we were going to be the Acclaimed, and he put us, that was basically our tryout match. It was against Best Friends. And we didn't know what the Acclaimed was. We just knew that Max rapped, and Cody told me, the only piece of information I was given was from Cody, and he said, just whatever Discaster says, it's the craziest, best thing you've ever heard in your entire life. That was the only thing I got. And I had to figure out, who I was under the umbrella of the Acclaimed. But 2 hours later, after meeting Tony, I had no idea what that was. So we came out, there was no theme music, so everything was just, I guess, a cappella. He did the rap, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like That was a good one. Yeah. It was terrible, and I'll watch the match. The match was great, but I will not watch the entrance.
It's so interesting because you guys, and this is the epitome of great tag teams too. It's like two people who really don't seem to have a ton in common, but you put them together and there's this real chemistry. Your characters feel like they are on complete other ends of the spectrum.
Well, I'll stop you there because I don't think we're characters. I think we are true, like who we are. Caster's a rapper. Caster likes to push buttons. Whatever you see on television, that's Max Caster. For me, like obviously I don't run around, town screaming the Acclaimed have arrived, but there's a part of me that has...
You should start.
There's all different parts that make up Anthony Bowens, and by nature I am an introverted person. I'm kind of like the guy leaning on the wall at a party observing as opposed to being the center of attention. But there is a part of me that is, I guess, crazy, and I unleash that part of me when we have our entrance and Max is rapping, and I just let loose and have fun. So I think everything you see is authentically us, which is the reason why it's resonating so well with people.
What do you think Anthony Bowens was before Tony Khan put you guys together as the Acclaimed?
Well, I was on the Independents doing the 5-tool player. That was more of like a gimmick, I would say. And it took me a while to kind of figure out what that was. And as I was just finding my groove in terms of that character, and
that's a baseball term because you played baseball growing up.
5-tool player is a baseball term. Anthony Bowens, the 5-tool player, was the perfect combination of power, athleticism, intelligence, the look, and the it factor.
You have that right now?
Oh, yeah, I still have elements of it.
You're still the 5-tool player.
Absolutely.
Just don't say it.
But there I was like, that's when I felt like more like a character. I wasn't really authentically myself, even though that does describe, what I did career-wise.
Yeah.
And I was just getting the ball rolling on that, and then the Acclaimed happened, so I kind of had to push that away, figure out what the Acclaimed was. And I guess I was still that guy when we first started, which is why I feel like I kind of flew under the radar in terms of like personality, because back then I was still very cautious and reserved and allowed too much of that introverted part of me to kind of seep over to my, I guess, career side of things. Meanwhile, Caster's so charismatic, and anything less than next to him just, obviously would be like, well, you can't compare to Caster. He's so charismatic. But when I really started to just let loose and, find the different elements of me to put on the screen and also have the opportunity to speak, I was able to show that, I'm a very well-rounded performer. I can wrestle, I can be funny, I could cut a promo, I could do all these things, which is, I think, also a huge part of why the Acclaim took a step up, because now we're both shouldering the load. Like, we're both putting a ton into our presentation and what people see every single week.
But one of the best things about you guys as a tag team is the crowd reaction. From the second your theme music hits to every diss that Max says to what you guys do in the ring. How difficult was that when there was no crowd reaction for, the first few months?
It was very hard, at least for me, because I am, and this ends up being my problem with when I'm doing auditions for like TV and film stuff. It's very hard for me to replicate the feeling of something when nothing's there. Some people are very good at that.
Yeah.
But I need the audience. I need something to, I guess, bounce back with. Like,
yeah. Well, they say that acting is reacting.
Yes.
And it's hard when you're reacting to a white wall.
Yeah, and there's just a table there talking. Like, put me on the set and give me the script, and then I will show you everything that I could do. Auditioning is just hard for me. So I like to think that it almost felt like auditioning in these pandemic matches, because you're firing up and there's just an empty Daly's place, or you're screaming, the Acclaimed have arrived, to nobody. And you can tell the difference between my delivery of it in front of a crowd as opposed to back then. I can't even watch some of those entrances. Like, speaking of, watching old stuff, I can't watch any of those old entrances now that I think about it, because I just hated the way I guess delivered the line, because there was just nothing there.
Well, to be fair, nobody's going back to really anything from the pandemic era and going, oh, that's iconic. Except for maybe the stadium match, but like,
that was fun.
But other than that, it's like, wrestling needs a reaction in the same way that like comedy needs that crowd reaction, so that we know like, oh, we love this.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm grateful to have, every time the sirens hit, people lose their minds because they want to hear what Caster has to say. because you never know what he's going to say. That's the beauty of him having a live microphone. We hit on just about everything, which seems to make people upset with certain things, but it's just like, if it's news, like, we don't operate within the realm of we have to live in a bubble of just our company.
Yeah.
If it's news, if it's out there, if it happened, it's up for grabs, and obviously if it's tasteful. But we'll touch on anything, and that's the way it's going to continue to be. So get used to it.
Do you think there's been times when maybe he's pushed the envelope too far with what he said?
Well, we try to toe the line as best as we can, because obviously there's there is a line that you can cross sometimes. But we like to be edgy. I mean, that was the only other direction we were given, was just be edgy, because there was a missing element to that, I guess, on the program. So they wanted this presentation that had a little edge to it. So we took it almost literally.
Does Max tell everybody else what he's going to be doing?
No. And that's the beauty of it, because we want authentic reactions. If he says something snippy and you get pissed, you get that camera shot that makes the match so much better, because this guy's pissed at what he said.
Wow.
So we try to make sure that whoever is listening is not around us, and we don't want them to hear anything.
So when he's telling you, like, I think I'm going to go with this, are you like, dude, I don't know if we can even say that.
There's a lot of examples where I'm just like, okay, I don't want to say I'm an editor, but what I'll do is I'll scan Twitter and I'll see what the trends were. What are people talking about? We'll have a team meeting. I'll present it to him. He'll present what he found, and then we kind of go through, what could we use, what can't we use, and a lot of the times, he's like, let's use everything. I'm like, no, we can't. And then it's his rap, it's his lyrics, it's ultimately up to him what he wants to do. I can give him as much advice as possible, but ultimately it's his decision, because that's his thing. I don't want to step on his toes. I do my thing. He doesn't want to step on my toes. And I think that our dynamic's really good. We communicate with each other. I talk to him every single day. I was just chatting with him before we came here to figure out what we want to do this week. And I think that's part of why we've become so successful so quickly, is that we trust each other, we communicate with each other, and we had the natural on-screen chemistry as it is, and rapport with the fans picked up on. So it's just a perfect package, in my opinion.
But you talk about scanning Twitter. There's been so many times where you guys will have your entrance and your match, and then something starts trending on Twitter because of what Max said during the entrance, and I'm like, oh man, like I never would have even imagined that thing is trending now, but you guys make it happen.
Well, even on the flip side of things, where stuff happens and then immediately we or him start trending, like, what are the Acclaimed going to say now? Because they want to hear our take on what's happening in the world or what's happening in professional wrestling, and that's fun. Like, we wanted to be different. We wanted to do things differently than everybody else, and we wanted to create an experience that everyone looks forward to every single week, because now they can hear the rap, they can go and hear the disses, they can yell, they can get excited when I yell the city, they can yell with me, everyone loves the Acclaimed have arrived, scissor me daddy ass. I'm realizing how many catchphrases we have that people
keep
like.
Going, it's great.
Yo, listen, like, there's so many different things, and then we could scissor people. It's like the perfect amount of crowd interaction to have fun with.
Yeah, Billy Gunn being part of what you guys are doing has been, I think, great for you guys. Even better, though, for Billy Gunn. Like, he is more relevant and popular now than he's been in like 20 years.
Billy has been a big part of our presentation, and honestly, that whole dynamic we had with him and his kids was the perfect storm to lead to everything that happened. Because I was hurt at the time, and I was hurt. Caster was just having singles matches. We'd fluctuate back and forth between TV and dark, and the same thing was happening with the Gun Club. And I'll be honest with you, before they ruined everything and they became selfish pieces of shit, we were pretty good friends with the Gun Club. Like, we had a good dynamic, we had a good rapport. We would hang out before the show and like laugh about the most ridiculous of things. And Caster was the one that said, "Hey, I think we should do something with these guys." I don't know what, because we were having so much fun together. And one day I was sitting on the beach. I was very relaxed, and I just came up with this way to put us together, and I needed a reason to be on television with my injury, and we could do this thing where we all come together. We can do it, on dark. It doesn't matter. We just want to do something and prove that we are useful to the to the TV show, that we can eventually be on Dynamite every single week. And we started doing it, and then the people loved it, and they started picking up of the dynamic between me and Billy, him pushing me in the wheelchair, and then one day, it was probably about 5 minutes before we went out to, I was on a Rampage. I think it was a Battle Royal on Rampage, and I was sitting in the wheelchair, and I was giggling to myself because I was trying to figure out a way to end our entrance because Max would rap, I would get the crowd to yell "ass boys," but I didn't have an ending. Yeah. And I just giggled to myself, and I thought, I think I'm just going to say, "Scissor me, daddy ass." I don't know why that popped into my head, but I started laughing. Literally me, like, sitting in the wheelchair in Gorilla, just like laughing at it. And then I didn't tell anybody. I think I told Billy, I was like, I think I'm going to say "Scissor me, daddy ass," and then hit me with the scissor. He didn't say anything. I just remember he just smiled at me and went, and he walked away. And that was it. 5 minutes later, I went out, I screamed it on Rampage. I came back, I looked around. No one said anything to me. I was like, okay, so I guess that was okay. And then it was trending, and then I started to see the signs, and
that's when you know it's caught on.
That's when you know what. Yeah, it was like, I got to say this every single week.
Do people know what
and
Scissoring
then Gun Club
means?
ruined everything and decided to,
Do people know what Scissor Me means?
Yeah, it's a sign of friendship.
Yeah,
if you watch National Scissoring Day on Dynamite, you would have known that scissoring is a sign of friendship.
Yeah, I feel like this is the modern day suck it, where like you could know what it means. You could just be like, it's a fun thing to say with a fun motion, and we'll just we'll do it. The double meaning of this, I think, is it's brilliant.
Well, thank you. And again, I think that is the beauty of the dynamic between Castor and I, because it's a little bit of, hey, I thought of these ideas, he thought of these ideas, we collaborated on them together, and they worked, and some things just happened. Like the scissor itself was, like, again, when we first started, he was very pedal to the metal, and I was very reserved, and both of them did not work. So we ended up evening each other out in a very good way. But in this particular instance, it was a dark. I did the Acclaimed A symbol, and it's on video too. You could see my genuine reaction. Just to rib me, he came up from behind and he just started scissoring me, and I went, like, "What are you doing? We're gonna get fired." And then I think he did it a couple more times. They asked us to stop, but then it got to the point where we're like, we need to kind of be renegades and just kind of do us. And we just started doing it again, and then I started getting a little bit more ridiculous with it, with the motorboating and all the other kind of stuff, and it just started to catch on.
Do you remember your reaction the first time you heard the crowd sing, "Oh, scissor me, daddy"?
Yes. Yeah. It was like that weekend we had something to prove, because a lot of people were like, great, the Acclaimed are on the show, but like, this is a random match. There's no build, blah, 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 that nonsense. And we're like, well, let's just show them that this is going to be a banger of a match, and show them that we can wrestle, and show them we can put on a pay-per-view level performance. And we always knew that Chicago crowds are great, but we didn't know that it was going to, be the environment that it was, because we got out there. And I think you could see it on my face at one point. I'm wrestling Swerve down to the ground, and I almost forget that I'm in the match because I hear them singing, and I'm like, what are they saying? And then I hear it, and I'm like, okay, like, this is cool. And they just kept going and kept going. And, I banged up my knee in the match, and people connected with that. And then all of a sudden, this incredible story was told, and people were just going absolutely crazy for the match itself. And anytime we would scissor Billy, and we got like I said, we got National Scissoring Day out of it, which was trending the moment I woke up.
Everyone so ridiculous. I love it.
Wishing each other a happy National Scissoring Day. I'm like, well, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. It's amazing. Your reaction, especially backstage after you won the championship, it was so authentic. And I feel like everybody could relate to that. if they've ever been told they can't do something. And I think that really resonated with people.
Sure. Yeah. It was, I knew I would have to cut a talk afterwards, and I didn't know what emotional state I would be in. Like, I thought if this would ever happen, I would cry in the ring, because it was just so, I would be so happy, but I just smile. I couldn't help but just smile, because hearing the crowd reaction to it, they exploded. My friends and my family were there. My boyfriend flew in when the confetti went off. Somehow within the sea of how many thousands of people were there, I look up and I saw my dad cheering, which is like such a cool moment. And I have to like stop myself because I get teary-eyed thinking about it. Like, that's my favorite part of the night, actually. But I knew at some point I would have to speak, and I wanted it to be authentic. And, I just started talking, and that's what came out. And I hope that people, whatever they're struggling with, can use that as an example of overcoming and having the mental toughness, having the resilience to fight through whatever that they may be going through, to come out on the other side, positively and happily. Because I do believe if you don't, allow yourself to like get consumed by everything and keep fighting, that you will come out better than we were.
I've had Fred Rosser on the show a few times. He's a good friend of mine. Do you remember when Darren Young came out?
Yes.
And what your reaction was to that?
So I don't remember what year it was. I'm not sure.
It was like 2012.
I wasn't in wrestling then, but I did keep an eye on it to see, what the response would be, because you didn't know. There was a very, very scary time when it comes to, thinking about what you want to do with your life, and then you're harboring this heavy secret that you feel like is going to absolutely destroy your life. So you do kind of keep tabs on like what's going on. And there weren't many people out there that I can relate to that I felt, like this person, like looks like me, or this I didn't have that kind of representation that I completely related to. And, Fred was one of those people for a while. And, I don't think the company handled it quite well, in my opinion, and that didn't give me any kind of, hope that, hey, like, here's this guy, he came out, he took this brave step, and now he's, super successful in the company. It just kind of felt like they didn't do anything with him.
Yeah.
And that was, I felt horrible for him, and also for me. It was like, is this what I would have to look forward to if, I decided to get into wrestling and did decide to pursue my dream, and then I did come out. But I thank him for taking that step, because it was probably very, 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 very hard to do.
Yeah, he talks about how it wasn't something he planned. I don't know if you remember, but TMZ caught him in an airport and said, "Oh, how would you react if someone in the locker room was gay?" And he's like, "Oh, well, actually, I'm gay." And they just kind of had a conversation about it. And it was just like totally spur of the moment. And he told me, he's like, as soon as that interview with TMZ was done, he was like, "Oh no, like, that's going to get out. Like, is that okay?" And he first called Stephanie and was like, "Just want to let you know this is going to be out there." And she's like, "Oh, that's great. Like, we support you. We don't really care." And I feel like now, 10 years later, we've gotten to a point where people don't really care. It's just a part of who you are.
Yeah. I mean, you'll have pockets of people that'll still have the negativity, or they'll say whatever online. But, I'm numb to that at this point. But the support has been absolutely insane. I mean, we have grown men, straight men, scissoring each other. It's screaming, "Scissor me, daddy." I mean, come on. Like, it's so much fun. I'm very, very lucky to, I guess, be in a situation where I can be comfortable with myself in AEW. And that was part of the appeal of coming to the locker room at AEW. Was when I first got there as an extra, I saw Sonny Kiss walking around, I saw Nyla Rose walking around, and then Diamante, and like all these people were free to be themselves without any, without question.
Yeah.
And I like also the way that the company just allows people to be themselves on TV as well. There's no push to have them act a certain way or tell them not to do certain things because of, their look or what have you. So you were very free to be yourself. You were free to just be a performer and present yourself as you please. Mm-hmm. And, in terms of like the locker room itself, like I don't even think twice about it. I can crack a joke, or I can talk about my boyfriend. I could talk about all these things openly and have people genuinely care and listen to me.
Yeah.
So that's very cool.
It's so funny how full circle this has come, that Billy from Billy and Chuck is now part of Scissor Me Daddy.
Yes. And I don't like pulling the curtain too far back, but I will say that the daddy ass birthday bash celebration, I thought would be a fun idea, and I did put together. What you saw, people enjoyed, but was about maybe 30 or 40% of what I had originally planned.
Were you going to invite Chuck Palumbo?
He was going to be my birthday gift to
Wow.
Billy. So I thought the irony of me reuniting Billy and Chuck would be perfect for this birthday bash, but he wasn't available last
Come
minute.
on, Chuck. Wow.
I don't like putting things out there, but like I really want people.
Was Rico available? That would have been pretty good too.
I don't think anything that we had like really thought about that would have been cool ended up not being available. So we just had to pivot and be like, all right, we're gonna give you this trophy. You can adopt us. So we are Billy Gunn's adopted children now. But just know that segment was going to be absolutely insane if it had been the way that we planned it.
I feel like it's still possible.
You never know.
In the world of pro wrestling, really anything is possible. So I feel like this is, I mean, we put it out there now. I feel like anything's possible.
You just never know when a surprise might happen. That's the unpredictability of the Acclaimed. Anybody can show up at any time. We could say anything we want at any time. You never know.
It's almost a disappointment when the Acclaimed music doesn't hit during an episode of Dynamite or Rampage. It's like, come on.
Well, it's Acclaimed every Wednesday. It's Acclaimed every week.
This is so good. I had Road Dogg on the show not long ago, and he was saying like he sees a lot of New Age Outlaws in you guys. He means this in the most positive way, because they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Sure.
And I can understand that. Like you've got a great entrance. You say stuff on the way to the ring. They did too. But then you can back it up when you get in the ring.
That was one of our biggest goals this year, because there were so many, like, we try not to pay attention to stuff on Twitter and stuff, but you can't help but see it because you're scrolling Twitter and things will pop up, and a lot of the feedback was all over the place. Well, this guy can talk, but this guy can wrestle. But this guy can't wrestle, but this guy can talk. But but they can both do. There were so many different things. I'm like, no, we're both superstars.
Yeah.
We can both talk. We can both wrestle. And anybody who's been in the ring with us, like Dax just said some nice things about us on his podcast, that he almost was in the same boat of like, oh, well, this guy could talk, and this guy is kind of a good wrestler, and he got in there with us, and he was like, whoa, these guys are really, really good. And that was our goal this year, to show that we can have these, elite, super elite style matches that people come to expect when you're at All Elite Wrestling, and we can also tell a story, and we can also be just as entertaining as anybody in the professional wrestling world. And I think we got that message across. So we're excited for a really, really fun 2023, successful 2023.
Did you see the random clip where Buff Bagwell was talking about how much he liked you guys?
Yes.
It's like, I love those guys, the two guys.
It's crazy. Like, I scream it, and for a shoot, everyone loves the Acclaimed.
I mean, they do.
And I first started, that actually was born out of the fact that everyone hated us when we first came, like legitimately hated us when we first started. Like the first month or two, people were like, why are these guys here? They suck. I don't get it. Blah, 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 blah. We hate them. So I thought, well, what would any delusional person say in this case? Everyone loves us. You're talking about us, so everyone must love the Acclaimed. And slowly but surely, it became a real thing.
If we take it back before you signed with AEW, you were really close to signing with WWE.
Yes.
How close?
So I tell these, I think I've told the story a couple times. I haven't really gone too much into detail with that, but screw it, might as well. So I had a tryout with them in 2015 at the Arnold Classic. Did well enough there. They invited myself and Bianca to the Performance Center. We did a full one there. They told me not right now. Keep in touch. I kept in touch, and then randomly in 2017, I got hit up. Hey, we're looking to bring you in 2018. So I started preparing. I did, the background. I did everything. The only thing I needed was just the contract, and it never came. And I would check in every 6 months, like, hey, this is what you told me to work on. Present it to him, nothing. And then, budget issues, there's no room. I was like, how is there no room? You just hired 50 people. There's clearly room. But they ghosted me really for 3 years. And then I did Dark, and then right after Dark, they hit me back up. And
well, that's convenient.
Very convenient. They hit me back up, and they asked if I was a free agent, which I said I was. They ended up offering me a contract. I said yes, but then they never sent me a contract. And in that time frame, Tony had found out, and he wanted me to go meet with him. And unbeknownst to me, I guess something similar was happening with Caster. So I thought, well, this is kind of the second time that this has happened where I haven't gotten, what I needed to. So I might as well hear this guy out. I went out, spoke to Tony, and I liked our conversation. I liked the opportunity that he was giving us, and combine that with everything I talked about with the locker room. And truthfully, I had a family emergency at the time, and it kind of made me realize I didn't want to move to Orlando at that point in my life. So everything was just telling me I needed to go to AEW. So once they presented us with a contract, I signed it, and I told WWE, unfortunately, I had to pass on their offer. I was never sent anything, and I trust Tony's vision for us.
And look where it's led you.
Yeah, it's a great decision.
The amount of opportunities that you've had, and some of them given to you or presented to you, but a lot of them you guys created for yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's the other rewarding thing too, was like we're allowed to create. Obviously Tony's the be all end all. If he doesn't like something, he will nix it. He won't just say yes to anything. But he allows us to be able to be ourselves and present ideas to him that clearly worked. And, we trust each other. And I hope to continue that trust and keep building on the success that we already have.
So you were playing baseball in college. When you entered college playing baseball, was MLB the dream at that time?
Yeah, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. I played from Little League all the way through college.
What position?
I was an outfielder. And in high school, I was in center field, and then I played 2 years at Seton Hall University in the Big East. I was in left field, and then I went to Montclair State University, which is Division III, and I played right field. And
when did the baseball dream start to die away?
Probably my senior year. So I had a 5th year of eligibility, and the coach that I played for at Montclair was just miserable. I have no problem putting it out there. I don't like him. Completely miserable. He made playing baseball a horrible, horrible experience. It was very much, if the vibe was not, hey, let's get better and win as a team. It was, if I don't win and my record isn't this, this, and this, you go 0 for 2, you're out of the game for 2. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Was not a good coach. Very weird fundamental, psychology in terms of approaching the game and playing the game. It just was not fun. Killed my love for the game. And also I had bad tendonitis in my elbow, so I was playing in pain, a lot of pain, for, that entire season. And at that point I was just like, I don't want to come back. I, at this point, rather just, see what's next in my life.
Yeah.
And that was, I had a degree in TV and radio production, so all this stuff is very...
Yeah, look at this. Yeah.
very, very, very familiar to me. I was interning at ESPN New York.
So was that the backup plan?
I was going to be an editor. I worked at MLB Network. I was trying to work my way up there.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I needed something creative to kind of fulfill that, because I had been on the baseball field for 6-7 hours a day for years.
Yeah, and baseball's relentless. I played up until college, and you're playing so many games a week, and it's a lot. It's grueling. The season is grueling.
I mean, if you love it, it's fine, but if you're going into it and then, I guess that goes with anything. If you're going into a situation and you're not really enjoying yourself, it's just gonna drag on.
But at least with football, you've got 6 days between games or 7 days between games. Baseball, you've got 20 hours between games.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
But say all that to say, I had been used to doing that every single day for X amount of hours. And I had all this extra time on my hands. I didn't know how to fill it. I'd go to the gym twice a day, and that was got to be a little much. I needed something creatively to fulfill that time. And I think it was 2011. Some hurricane was rolling in, so it delayed my friends going back to college to move back into their dorms. And my buddy Nico was like, let's make a wrestling video. Because, like, my friends aren't wrestling fans. They tolerate it because I would put it on. But Nico would be the only other person that was like, yeah, let's watch wrestling. I like it.
Yeah.
And I'd call him a fan, actually. But he was like, let's just make a funny video. And it was kind of akin to, I don't know if you watched the Kenny Omega, and I forgot who, maybe it was Ibushi, that he wrestled like in a house. It was like in a forest, and he ended up wrestling into kind of like that, but more comedic, where I was, for some reason, the Black Mamba, and he was this character called the Bulge, which stuffed his crotch full of stuff, and he talked like Macho Man. I can't do a Macho Man impression, but I'm the Bulge. Yeah.
Everyone has a Macho Man. Come on.
It's a terrible impression. Don't judge me. But we would just beat the crap out of each other, and we made it into a storyline because we posted it on YouTube. It's private, so don't look it up. It caught on locally. People were like, this is funny, it's fun. And we made a whole series out of it. And the main feedback I would get was like, you kind of look like you're a pro wrestler. Like, you ever thought about doing it? And that was kind of like the first initial seed that was planted. Like, maybe I could. So I started looking into different training schools. I thought about moving down to Florida. I thought about going to Lance Storms in Canada. I didn't have the money at the time. And one day WWE was in the area and back in Jersey. And usually when they're there, they lift at the gym that I go to. So I emailed all my professors, like I was sick, won't be coming in. So then I went to the gym and I just started meeting people and taking photos. And the last person that I was going to go up to but almost didn't was Santino Marella, because he was I guess in between. He was doing his sets and I didn't want to bother him. I was like, you know what, I won't bother him, I'll leave. But my buddy Will was like, you're never going to see him again, just take the photo. Yeah. Which ended up being super crucial, because when I took the photo with him, as I walked away, he stopped me and said, hey, like, you have the size to be a pro wrestler. Have you ever thought about becoming one? And I was like, oh my God, yeah. And then he pulled out his phone. He gave me the number to Pat Buck, who at the time, or still is, the owner of WrestlePro, Creative Pro. He's also now a producer with us at AEW, which is really cool, producing our matches. And then the next week I went down to the training center, which was obliterated because of Hurricane Sandy, and they were just practicing chain wrestling on amateur wrestling mats. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I started.
The amazing thing about that story is that things happen in your life at the right time for a certain reason. Like, it'd be interesting to know what your path would have been like had you gone, I'm not going to bother Santino, I'm just going to keep working out here.
No idea.
Maybe you would have found your way into wrestling. Maybe not. And it's just so interesting to me that, like, people are put into your life for a certain reason at a certain point in time.
It's crazy. I do believe things happen for a reason. Because that whole timeline, if one thing goes wrong, right. I don't know what happens. Like, am I sitting here right now talking about all this? I don't know.
And I feel like in that same vein, you are that for a lot of people. I think a lot of people see you on TV and go, oh, it's okay for me to be myself. How often do people come up to you and go, I felt comfortable coming out because of you?
A lot. We usually, Max and I would do the meet and greets, and we try to make those meet and greets as memorable as possible, because people are paying.
You scissor everybody.
I'm legitimately scissoring everybody. Group scissors, chain scissors, double scissors, threesome scissors, all kind of scissors, all day for hours. But we'll get people that'll come up to both of us, really, because Max is a really good ally to the community. And he's also a virgin, to let you guys know. He wanted everybody to say that. But these people will come up to us and just tell their stories, and it's hard for me not to get emotional with them, because, like, this was me however many so years ago, struggling with the same exact thing. Yeah. The hard part comes when they ask for advice, because I don't know what their life situation, and I recognize I'm privileged because I came from a pretty liberal tri-state area where I don't really feel threatened by anything. Also, like, most people don't know if I don't tell, like if they don't know that I'm a gay man, because my physical, they think the stereotype of being gay is this different presentation that I have. So I kind of get to go under the radar with certain things, and other people live in areas where it may not be safe to be out and open, or they don't have support from their friends and family, or they become more of a target just because of maybe how they dress. So I understand that I don't, that aspect I don't really have to worry about a lot. So I can't just openly give advice to people like, hey, go do this, go do that, because then my conscience is like, I told them to do this, and then maybe they got harmed for it or something. Yeah. So giving advice tends to be very hard for me, without actually having to sit down and talk to people almost individually and figure out what their life scenario or situation is.
Things are going so well for you right now. Congratulations on all of that.
Thank you.
Do you remember a time when things weren't going so well and what that looked like?
Yeah, I think something that sticks out was probably the day I got the no from WWE. That was like my first life kicking me in the balls, because I woke up, I got the email, hey, like, no. And then I had an audition that I bombed because I was...
Like an acting audition?
And that I bombed. I remember it was for a Foot Locker commercial because of that. And then I got home and found out like 30 minutes later that my grandmother had passed away. And she was like very, very important to me. Yeah. So it was kind of just like boom, boom, boom. And that was kind of the first time in my life where it was just like, this sucks, you know, is this ever going to work out for me? I just lost my grandmother. It was a very, very dark time, but I am very, very big into turning negatives into positives. I did let it get to me for a couple weeks, but anytime I get into that state, I try to find things that I can turn positive, like the gym's one of them. If I'm angry, if I'm sad, if I'm upset, I'll go to the gym and I'll work out, because one, it lets off steam, and two, I'm putting the positive is, you know, my body's looking better. I'm feeling better mentally. Yeah. Before that used to be, when I played baseball, I'd go out to the batting, I'd go to the batting cage and take some swings. It would be anything that I can do to, turn the negative into the positive. Yeah. And I'm very proud that I was able to overcome that mental state that I was in. I was very proud that I was able to make my grandmother proud, because before she passed, I promised her that I'd be successful in this business. So I dedicate that whole title win to her, and everything else I do to her. Yeah. So that would probably have been the hardest time in my life, outside of, I guess, my sexuality. There's plenty of times where it felt like all hope was lost. I say the story all the time. I remember pulling into my driveway and just parking my car in the garage and just crying for 30, just trying to let it all out, because it just felt like everything was overwhelming. I just felt so heavy. You know, that heaviness that you feel when something's burdening you. Yeah.
And it's all you can think about.
Anytime anytime there's any time for your mind to kind of just wander, it ends up going back to that very thing, and it just starts compounding on you. But in those instances, same thing. I always just try to distract myself, talk to somebody if you have someone available to you. I had plenty of my best friends I'm so thankful for, because they really helped me become comfortable with myself. So I told my best friend Greg in 2010, and then I kind of let the rest of them know on a need-to-know basis until the whole group knew, and then they really helped me become comfortable with myself, and then the support of my parents once I told them. So I'm very lucky.
So it's a big move to go East Coast to West Coast.
Yes.
And it's especially a big move to LA. And everybody who's moved here has a moving to LA story. A lot of people are moving here for acting or television or movies. And that's kind of your story, but like what was everything that went into moving here?
So a lot of it was, truthfully, my boyfriend, Michael. Michael's always wanted to come out here. He's an incredible actor. He does... Actually, I'll put over my YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to Michael and Anthony, please.
Hey, we should link it below.
Link it below,
there you
please.
Go.
If you subscribe, I will scissor you.
Wow.
That's an incentive. But the channel's called Michael and Anthony. That's actually how I came out in the first place. I will round out the story because I do sidebar sometimes, so excuse me. But I met Michael in 2016. We dated secretly for 6 months, which I'm completely appreciative for. I felt bad, but at the time I was not ready to come out yet. I promised him that it wouldn't be forever.
Were you out to anybody at that point?
My friends and my
So people really
family.
close to you.
Just my inner circle.
Yeah, okay.
And I promised him it wouldn't be forever. I just needed to be ready. But he also always wanted to start a YouTube channel. He had like little videos that he had done with his brother. Him and his brother are very creative and into TV and stuff like that. And he wanted to do a video with me. And I was like, nope, I can't do it. And then I saw how disappointed he was. And I was like, screw it. You don't have that many subscribers. Let's make the video, whatever. I made the video. It was a fun video. It's called the Laughing Challenge. You know, you put water in your mouth, watch a funny video. And if you spit it out, you lose. Very cute. And then one of the wrestlers found out about it, and that's kind of how I was like, okay, well, the wrestlers support me, my family supports me, my friends support me, you know, and I can help people. You know, what do I have? Like, what am I waiting for? Yeah. That's how I eventually came out. But anyway, that video birthed basically the YouTube channel. We started doing vlogs. It started to grow. We didn't really have a direction to what we were doing. We were just doing like what we thought people would want it, the YouTube challenges. But it was boring. It wasn't really, I shouldn't say it's boring. It wasn't creatively fulfilling for us. We were trying to figure out what made us tick. And then the pandemic rolled around and Michael was like, Michael's very good at impressions. And he always does these impressions of the people that we're watching from all these reality TV shows. And one of the shows that came out was Love is Blind. And he was like, why don't we spoof this show that's kind of bad? But it's like funny. There's funny elements that we can make fun of. We did it. And then all of a sudden that video got a million views. So that we did another couple. That got almost 500,000. And
wow. How many subscribers do you have right now?
A little bit over 220,000.
Amazing. Congrats on the silver play button.
Thank you. Yes, that was very exciting.
That's a big move, yeah.
So yeah, we do all kinds of parodies. 90 Day Fiance always tends to be the biggest ones that we do, but we've done Tiger King, Kardashians. We wrote our own sketches. It's really funny, honestly. It's like kind of slapstick comedy, like Naked Gun, Scary Movie 2 type humor. But I say all that to say, he always had acting dreams. I always wanted to kind of do the same thing as a backup to wrestling. And finally, we were at the point where we needed a change of, scenery. We also really just wanted to give this a go. So we moved to Los Angeles. And also a lot of times when we wanted to collaborate with other people, it was like, hey, let's do this. Sure. Where are you located? Los Angeles.
Yep.
Los Angeles.
Every time.
Every single time.
Yep.
So we decided to come out here and give it a go. And it's been great. Michael just landed a lead in his first feature film that's coming out.
Congrats.
He's got a lot of stuff pouring in. Did a pilot for a comedy show that hopefully gets picked up. And then on my end, I hope to really tackle it hard in 2023 and hopefully land some TV film gigs because I've only done commercials outside of the live television of
Do you
pro
have
wrestling.
Specific acting goals for this year?
I just want to land something, even if it's
that's
one
a
word.
Great goal. Okay.
Because for me, once I land one and I get the experience of going through everything, there's not any unanswered questions. That's when I really start to pick up steam. Essentially, like same thing with wrestling. I came in on at AEW. I came in unsure. I wasn't used to wrestling on television, and then I was finding myself as the Acclaimed. And then once I start, getting that confidence, it's lights out. I know I'll be successful.
This is your year. I can feel it. Like you guys did a lot. You personally did a lot in 2022, but we're sitting here right now. It's January 2023. I feel like you can do basically whatever you want this year, and it's going to be a big year for you.
Well, thank you. I'll tell you what. How about I come back on the show in December of 2023, and we'll figure out how we did.
If John will make that happen, we will make done. It's happening, dude. It's so good to sit down with you. I'm so glad we could do this in person.
Thank you.
We end every conversation talking about gratitude because that's such a big thing in my life. I start every day. I say out loud 3 things I'm grateful for, and I do it at the end of the day too. What are 3 things in your life that you're grateful for as you sit here right now?
I am grateful for those in my life that are closest to me, my friends, my family, Michael. I am grateful for the I guess, my career that I've worked very, very hard for, and that includes Max Caster being a part of that and helping the growth. And I'm grateful for everybody that supports us because, you know, I wouldn't be in the position to do any of these cool things or experience anything, or experience all of my dreams, I suppose, if it wasn't for people, you know, supporting us, scissoring us, buying the merch, and just screaming along with us every single week. I'm grateful for everybody that's, you know, helped me get to where I'm at today, and it's just the beginning.
Congrats, man. Congrats on everything.
Well, we can't finish like that. Are you ready?
I don't know.
Scissor me, Chris! Okay, now we can end the show.